call this meeting of the Duncanville Independent Board of Trustees to order. Let the record show that a quorum of board members of trustees is present, that the meeting has been duly called, and that the notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. Good evening. Our mission in Duncanville ISD is to engage, equip, and empower all scholars to achieve their unique potential. Now we're going to close now. We will now go into closed session. Okay, we're back from closed session. We will continue with our agenda items and we'll move to opening ceremonies. Trustee Vera Cruz, would you lead us in prayer, please?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Happy New Year, everyone. If you would join me for a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, we come to you this hour for guidance in the matters at hand, and ask that you clearly show us how to conduct our work with a spirit of joy and enthusiasm. We pray this new year you grant educators, students, leadership teams, and Team of 8 resolve to nurture the students and peers alike. Grace them with a gentle patience on the path to learning and gaining wisdom in all they do. Kindle a spirit of passion in educating the students and leadership teams. It is the flame that ignites the love of learning in all of us. We ask that we challenge each other to reach higher and to become the best we can be. We pray this in your name. Amen.
You will stand with me for the pledge. We will move on with our regular agenda. The superintendent's report, I turned over to Dr. Smith.
Thank you, President McNeely, board members, those that are in attendance. Tonight, I have the following items that I want to share with you during the superintendent's report. The first item that I have this evening is to provide an update on the legislative session that is going on. On January 10th, the state legislature convened to begin the 88th Texas legislative session. And throughout the first 30 days of the session, basically what they're doing is organizing the leadership and establishing committees, making committee appointments, etc. At this stage, there has been a little over 300 bills that have been filed. That's a pretty high number from what my reading and sources are telling me at this early stage in the process. So that means there's a lot of activity. Of course, the majority of those bills will not make it through the process, but nevertheless, that is a lot of bills to be put forth for discussion at this time in the session. We, as a district, have shared our board priorities with staff leaders for Senator West, staff leaders for Representative Davis, and Representative Sherman. We've met with them. We've provided them all of our information. We provided them with our board priorities that you developed several months ago. We also have met with a group called Raise Your Hand Texas. It's a group it's an advocacy group that supports public schools and is an advocate for using dollars to support and increase the financial support of school districts in Texas. We've also met with local community leaders, area superintendents, and we're continuing to use social media as a platform to put the board's message out there and, of course, our message as a district. We have a legislative committee that we put together, and basically we are just studying and following up and keeping up with everything that's going on in the session. I get weekly updates. And that allows me to be able to provide a fairly in-depth update each month for the board during our board meetings. This session so far, one of the major discussions that you probably have been hearing is centered around the property tax. And of course, property tax is a big discussion item. They are skyrocketing and high across the state. And the governor and lieutenant governor have already made pretty strong positions in terms of what one of their primary focuses is, and it's to address the property tax issue. The challenge for public schools is that's one of the main funding sources for school districts. And so it is going to be a challenge for us, depending upon how this all plays out, especially with a state budget that has a surplus of a little over $33 billion. So a lot of the discussion will go back and forth about providing adequate funding for our teachers and helping districts recover from COVID, and that's one of the board's priorities that we included and that we are continuing to advocate as we meet monthly. I'll be bringing the monthly updates to you all as the session continues, and we'll continue to follow and track and make sure that we are up to speed in such a way that we can influence what we do here in our district and anticipate things that may have an influence on our budget as we move forward. The next item that I have for you is centered on our early learners. This year, we have made a really huge effort with our pre-K program. Our numbers have increased, and we're really proud of that. And so I've made a commitment to stay connected to our pre-Kers. So I went out to Fair Meadows Elementary and had a wonderful time visiting a couple of classrooms. This was the Friday after the winter break. Our pre-K students were learning about community helpers and what it means to be a part of the community and how you can help the community. And so I had an opportunity to go and talk to them about what a superintendent is and what a superintendent does. And they asked me a lot of interesting questions. They asked me, they wanted to know if I drank coffee. And then they wanted to know how old I was. I don't know how I wiggled out of that one, but I was able to wiggle out of that one. So I just said older than you for sure. So we had a good time, and I've committed to come back after they finish their project so they can tell me and show me how they've been able to support their community. So that was just an emphasis that we had there. So wanted to share that with you. The next item I have is our Duncanville High School Choir. Our Duncanville High School Choir is directed by Mr. Doucet. I've learned to correctly pronounce his name. He's corrected me, and I finally got it. And Mr. Johnson. And so they do a wonderful job with our choir program. We also had two of our trustees go to New York, travel to New York. This is actually a picture from their performance, but they went to New York. Trustee Cassandra Phillips and Trustee Dr. Ivory both went to New York last week, 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. And they got an opportunity to see firsthand. This was just a great experience for our students, great opportunity for us to showcase the work that we do here in the school district. It was awesome to have two trustees there to see it and witness it in person. The teachers and the students felt a lot of support. So they performed at the historic St. John's Cathedral in New York City. The students also participated in musical theater workshops with Broadway performers. They attended 2 musical theater performances and toured several historic sites. And so, again, Mr. Johnson, Mr. Doucet, they did a great job. And Trustee Ivory was sharing with us the comment that the director of the program there made, that she, in the 6 years, was it 6 years? Cassandra, 6 years? In the 6 years that she was there, I'm sorry, I said Trustee, it was just, I haven't shared it? Okay. So in the 6 years that she has been overseeing this program, she said this was the best that she's seen by far. And so that was great feedback, and I was really proud of the students and them getting to experience going to New York and performing around the world. Absolutely. So very good. The next item is also a segue there. It's the All-State Band and Choir. We win a lot of championships in Duncanville ISD, but I'm proud of all of them. I'm really proud of this one. This is a great opportunity. Again, just an example of our fine arts program. The Duncanville Band and the Choir Department, they're pleased to announce that 3 band students and 6 choir students will represent the district at the Texas Music Education Association's All-State Musician Program. These students were chosen for their prestigious honor through a competitive process that was held this year across the state, the region, and area levels. This all-state honor is the highest honor a Texas music student can receive. It's the highest honor that a Texas student in music can receive. And so we had 3 band members, Henry Ramirez Garcia, Jared Balderas, and Isaac Nuno are the 3 members of the band. And then for the choir, we had Jeffrey Berry, Zion Fuqua, Marisol Hernandez, Kalicia Zapata, Lyric Lyons, and Evan Beatty. And so only the top 2.6% of musicians who initially audition actually get to become an all-state musician. So only 2.6% get to make it, and we are well represented. So outstanding, congratulations, we appreciate them. The next item I have is to recognize the school board. So January is the time of the year that we dedicate to celebrate our board as celebration of National School Board Appreciation Month. Of course, we appreciate our board every day, every week, every month. But certainly this month is just dedicated to really spotlighting our school board. And so I have I'm blessed and fortunate to be able to work with outstanding school board members. They care about Duncanville ISD. They care about the students. They are engaged and connected. They work as a team. They're committed in their task. Most people think being a board member is just showing up at the board meeting, and they don't realize what goes on between those monthly board meetings. And so you'll see their faces at all kind of district events supporting our kids. Example, the New York trip here, but everywhere, all across our district. They are true advocates, and they are true supporters of Duncanville ISD, and they understand what it means to be a board member. And for that, I'm very fortunate, and that's really why we've had the success in our district that we have had, because we always say everything rises or falls with the leadership. And the reason we're able to do what we do is because you all provide the leadership and support to make that possible. And so we want to thank you for that. Now, it's likely getting close to some of our students' bedtime, so they probably won't be able to stay later to see what you really do. But we had some students that just wonder, what does a board member really do? And so they put together something, and so I want you to see that and get an idea of what board members really do from the perspective of our awesome students.
I, Phil McNeely, President of the Duncanville ISD Board of Trustees, call this meeting of the Duncanville Independent School District to order. Let the record show that a quorum.
What's a quorum?
Well, it's a
place where they keep the fish.
Well, I don't think that's what it is.
I just vote we skip that part.
I second that.
I third that.
I fourth that.
I fifth. I sixth. I seventh.
Wow, this president stuff is easy. And now it's time to go into closed session where we will discuss really big and important matters.
Dun, dun, dun!
We will now move to opening ceremonies and the superintendent report. Dr. Smith.
Thank you, Phil. Board, I have some really cool stuff to share with you today. First, all of our schools had perfect attendance this month, and because of that, they all got 2 hours of recess. Can we get 2 claps for the district? Next, because of their perfect scores on their 9 weeks exams, math, science, and reading class will be replaced with pizza parties. Let's get a round of applause for Duncanville ISD. You guys sure know how to finish strong.
Now it's time to move on to our presentations. Mr. Bigby?
Good morning, everyone. Mr. Bigby, nobody can see you.
Sorry. On the money matters concerning more pizza, candy, and parties for the whole entire district. Oh, and naps for staff. I found the money. Board, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
I vote yes. I vote yes.
I vote yes.
I vote yes.
I definitely vote yes.
I vote yes. I vote yes.
The yeses have it. We have now come to the end of the board meeting. Have a good night.
Anyone want some mints?
All right. So I cannot wait for you to get an opportunity to meet these awesome students. That is their rendition of what you do and what the school board does. In addition to that awesome video, we obviously have some gifts that we want to give to you to recognize you. And the actors, the Academy Award-winning actors, are going to be the ones to pass those gifts out. Let me just again call their names. Want to make sure I give them special recognition. Playing board president Phil McNeely was Brody Lewis from Fair Meadows. Give him a hand if you would, please. Playing Janet Veracruz was Valentina Moreno from Central Elementary. Playing Cassandra Phillips was Katia Slater from Alexander Elementary. Playing Jackie Colton was Malaya Hawthorne from Bill Hart's Elementary. Playing Janice Savage Martin was Jan Campbell from Hastings Elementary. Playing Carla Fahey was Evelyn Campa from Hyman Elementary. Playing Dr. Lasagna Ivory is Kennedy Sanders from Maryfield Elementary. And playing Dr. Ed Bigby was Nason Gutowski from Smith Elementary. And the stage director was Ramaya Wembley from Acton Elementary. And playing your superintendent was Marcus Mays from Acton Elementary. And Marcus, you look the part. So board, thank you very much. We really appreciate you. The students had so much fun. They got to see you, learn about you. and they were so excited to play you. And so thank you, students, for making this recognition special. We appreciate you. And thank you, parents, too. And all the counselors and staff who really worked with the students, y'all did a wonderful job. So we appreciate you. And that concludes the superintendent's report. We'll definitely keep the video available. I'm sure y'all may want to see that after this meeting.
My wife will want to see that one. We'll now move on to recognitions and turn the meeting over to Mrs. Wallace. That was good. That was really good.
Send that to the meeting, see if they'll pick it up.
We'll move into donation. All right, we'll move into donations.
Yeah, we got to probably turn the mic on.
Get one with batteries. See? It's a Duracell.
Thank you, Tom. All right, so we will move into donations, and once again, as each month, it's always an honor to come before you guys and share the donations with you all. Good evening, President McNeely, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Smith. Before I move into donations, I would like to just say, once again, thank you all for all that you do as members of our board and for supporting and serving with such grace and grandeur. We really appreciate all that you do. Next slide, please. So this month, our Panther Pantry, they are the recipient, the beneficiaries of some great generosity from our community. Over $1,500 worth of goods and services have been provided to our Panther Pantry from these many different donors. And so we just want to express our gratitude to them for their continuous support to Duncanville ISD. Are there any questions about the donations that you see before you?
Can I comment?
Absolutely.
The Maiden Foundation, there's two twins that do this, and they played for TCU, so I just wanted to mention that.
All right, yes. Thank you. And they have also extended an opportunity for them to partner with us even further. So this was their first, but it seems like it's going to be the first of many, so we're excited about that. Any other questions?
Okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I would like to thank, everybody, everyone, every group that donated money and items to the district, and I noticed that even we had SPED employees to actually, make some donations. So for everything, that anyone has done to give to the district and the students and, our programs, we appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Thank you. Yes.
Anything else? Thank you, Ms. Wallace.
Thank you.
We'll move on to communications to citizens to discuss pending agenda items before the board. Okay. We'll move on to consider the approval of consent agenda items. All these items may be acted on at once, at the same time by the Board of Trustees. Do I have any motions?
I'd like to make a motion that we move items 7A and 7D to the consent agenda items.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to move items 7A and 7D from the action agenda to the consent agenda. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries. And now, do I have a motion to approve our consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Okay, we'll move on now to our action agenda. We'll start with 7B. Consider the approval of the curriculum materials recommended by the School Health Advisory Council for instruction relating to child abuse, family violence, dating violence, and sex trafficking.
Greetings to Board President McNeely, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Smith. I will be presenting curriculum materials as convened by the SHAC for child abuse, family violence, dating violence, and sex trafficking. Next slide. In accordance with the Texas Education Code 28.004, the Board of Trustees is required to choose course materials that are related to neglect and abuse that are recommended based upon the School Health Advisory Committee or the SHAC Committee for the topics listed above. Next slide. Districts are required to offer health curriculum instruction. In Duncanville, we offer health instruction for middle and high school students. And so the health teaks they were updated in 2020 to include the information on abuse and neglect. And so parents with this curriculum, the new health curriculum that's being offered, will have to opt in versus opt out. They do have the right to view curriculum materials and preview them. And so a letter will be sent 14 days in advance prior to teaching that unit where they can choose for their child to participate in that instruction if they chose to do so. Next slide. The board adopted a resolution convening the SHAC to review the curriculum materials. This past August, the SHAC met on October 24th and December 5th, and these were meetings that are open to the public. We have information on our website, and those items were posted in board book as far as the SHAC agenda. And so the SHAC committee is comprised of district leaders, teachers, community members, and parents. And all of the committee members were on board with approving the recommended curriculum. Next slide. The curriculum that was reviewed by the SHAC committee was the Goodhart-Wilcox curriculum, which is the health curriculum that was already previously adopted by the Board of Trustees as the curriculum for health instruction. And then we have a list of approved counseling resources that come from national and state websites, in addition to Texas School Procedures, which is a program that we use for various forms and regulations and different information for the district. Next slide. Are there any questions about the child abuse, family violence, dating violence, and sex trafficking curriculum? Okay.
Any questions? Do I have a motion to adopt the curriculum materials as presented for instruction relating to child abuse, family violence, dating violence, and sex trafficking?
Second.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Any other questions? All in favor? Motion carries 7-0. And we'll move on to 7B. Consider the approval resolution to convene the School Health Advisory Council to recommend curriculum materials for the instruction relating to human sexuality. Ms. Brown, it's still.
All right. Greetings again. I will be presenting on the resolution for the board to convene the SHAC to review curriculum materials for human sexuality and instruction. Next slide. The State Board of Education requires that the board convene the SHAC to determine curriculum for human sexuality instruction. The SHAC has two meetings, two public meetings that will take place on February 6th and April 3rd of this semester. And again, the SHAC is comprised of different committee members, including parents, teachers, district leaders, and community members. Next slide. We will be reviewing the currently adopted Goodhart-Wilcox Health Curriculum, which the board has previously adopted for our health instruction as the curriculum to use for human sexuality instruction. The State Board of Education updated the health TEKS to include age-appropriate instruction on sexual and reproductive health, and so we must offer the health instruction that is aligned to the TEKS. However, again, with this curriculum, parents will receive a 14-day advance notice, and they must opt in to receive instruction. So if they do not opt in, students would be removed from the classroom and would not receive instruction on those human sexuality topics. And parents also, again, have the right to review curriculum materials if they ask to do so. And so the SHAC, the resolution would convene the SHAC to hold the two public meetings on the curriculum materials, and these are open to the public, and we always post that information on our website, and to recommend the materials that will be reviewed by, it says, academic experts, and so the curriculum instruction team, district educators, we're considered to be the academic experts, and to present these findings back to you in this May. Next slide. Are there any questions about the human sexuality instruction?
Any questions?
Will the committee determine age groups, or is that already set?
So it's for middle and high school only?
Thank you.
The same thing, yes, only middle and high school students that take health instruction. So if you're not enrolled in health, then you won't necessarily receive instruction on these items. And there's a separate textbook for this item as well. So there's a companion text. So if they opt in at that point, they will receive it.
Any other questions? Jackie?
We have 17 members on the SHAC committee. Yes, ma'am. And then sometimes additional people participate if they're presenting or sharing information. Any other questions? Okay.
Do I have a motion to adopt the resolution to convene the School Health Advisory Council to recommend curriculum materials for instruction relating to human sexuality?
So moved.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Any more questions or discussion? All in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Now,
Get on my box.
he knows in advance. This is budget.
You want 'em in?
I forgot about that. I'm gonna turn the page. Okay, move on to call a school board election for May 6th, 2023, to elect trustees from place 4 and 5. Dr. Bigby?
As you know, by state law, you have to order the election to elect trustees. The two that are up are positions 4 and 5. This is where I typically would say something smart like, okay, the law also says incumbents have to sign up to run again, but since you've already done that, then you've taken my thunder away. and let you know we appreciate that. But you do have to approve the order for the May 6th election that includes early voting dates. Answer any questions you might have.
Anybody got any questions? Do you have a motion to call as presented the election order establishing trustee election on May 6, 2023, and early voting for April 25th, 2023 through May 2nd, 2023, with the Dallas County Election Board conducting the elections in all precincts, and the board president or designee be authorized to sign on behalf of the Board of Trustees.
Second.
Motion been motion's been made and seconded. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, Dr. Bigby.
Thank you.
Now we get to start the process, don't we? Okay, now we move on to our information and discussion items. Start the budget. Let's get
Yeah.
after it.
Seemed like we just did this. In your material, you have a listing of the budget timeline. This more or less follows the same format the last few years. As far as the process goes, all of the bold print in that list are actual scheduled board meetings. As the legislative session goes on and we start developing the budget, there certainly may be a need for a budget workshop as we learn more about what the ladies and gentlemen in Austin do to us to discuss those. But we'll follow the same process. There's allocations for each campus. We'll send those to the campuses. I'll try to visit each campus to discuss the campus budgets. Departments will turn their budgets in to our office, along with any additional budget requests that they may have, as well as ones that may come off the campus, requests that they can't cover on their campus budget. Other than that, we should have the budget ready for you to approve on the 19th of June, so Dr. Smith can leave town. He hooks them right after the budget gets approved, so we'll make sure we do that. You have to have it approved before July 1. Dr. Smith gave you a little bit of a legislative overview. I'll tell you a few things about it. As he mentioned, there's a $32.7 billion surplus, and where did we get it? Well, one was the economy's better than it was. Two is inflation. As prices go up, so does the sales tax that comes in off of those. Another is the ESSER funds that were assigned to the state that they didn't bother to divvy out to the counties or cities or the school districts. They kept it to the state level. Higher property tax collections, $4.3 billion more in the next biennium than what they projected for this past biennium. And that's basically money out of every taxpayer's pocket. And recapture, as you know, with the property wealthy schools, once they reach a certain wealth level, have to send money to the state. They're projecting that to be at $5 billion next year. So that's more tax money that's coming out of the property wealthy districts. So between those two, the additional property taxes and recapture, that's about $10 billion. That's the bill is footed by the local taxpayer, as well as the taxes that you pay directly to the school. So those are some large numbers. They like to talk about a surplus. Well, a lot of it came from your pockets. The rainy day fund, we always want to talk about that. That's projected to be at $26.4 billion next year. And once again, this is not a fund balance, it's a savings account. They don't need any of those funds for cash flow like you do with a fund balance. So that's just mad money for the governor. I didn't say that. Initial budgets have come out from both houses. You know, when you're a short timer, you can say a lot of things. Both budgets included $15 billion in tax cuts that no one really explained how that was going to take place. There's $1.8 billion for state employee raises, $4.6 billion for border security. These are in both of them. And both of them do allow the Tier 2 increases that were in the current legislation. They both allow those to take place which should generate some more funds for the Duncanville ISD in the next 2 years. Neither spend all available funds. I was almost laughed at this. Dan Patrick said we have to save some money for the future, and yet he's the same one that comes back at school districts because you have a fund balance, that we're trying to put some back for emergencies, cash flow in the future. So anyway, the Senate bill says the tax reduction will be through an additional homestead exemption, which if you remember last session you approved, or we all approved, a constitutional amendment that moved it from 25,000 to 40,000 exemption. The Senate bill has a movement from 40 to 70,000, which would mean basically whatever your market value or taxable value is, they'd take 70,000 off of that before your taxes are calculated. Now, theoretically, they make the districts whole because we lose a tremendous amount of money when that takes place, and they put in what's called a hold harmless, and that's wonderful. Only it usually lasts about 2 years, and then it's dissolved, and then the districts are set to try to make up that difference in money. So it's almost a Harry Houdini kind of thing of, yes, we're going to protect you, and then they don't renew the hold harmless. So hopefully there'll be a better way of doing that. I would think if they'd increase how they compress tax rates, that would be better as far as the district is concerned and the taxpayer, because it would make you taxed off a lower tax rate. But the session's early. They haven't gotten the back rooms and smoked cigars yet to determine how all that's going to come out. So we will watch it as we go, and hopefully they won't hurt us too bad. Be happy to answer any questions you might have or dwell on anything you'd like to talk about. Go Bears, beat Kansas.
As you refer to yourself as a short timer, I hope you are around long enough to train the next one of how to give these presentations.
I'll do my best. I'll show them where to get the mints.
We appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate you people. I've worked with a lot of boards, but this is the best one by far. Thank you.
Just keep bringing the minutes.
Okay, we'll move on to the B, academic calendar planning process for 2023-24 school year. Dr. Jordan.
Good evening, President McNeely, Board of Trustees, Dr. Smith. It is my pleasure to share with you the academic calendar development process for the 23-24 school year. Next slide. So an integral part of our planning process is really our calendar committee. The calendar committee consists of approximately 45 parents, teachers, staff members, campus administrators, and central office staff. 45 seems like a large number, but it's important for us to have a diverse group of committee members, as well as making sure that every campus has someone that's a representative to serve on the calendar committee. So although we have 45 individuals, we will have 2 meetings where we talk about our priorities, our goals. We review sample calendars, develop our draft calendar, but we end up walking away with one goal, and that's developing a 23-24 academic calendar that best meets the needs of Duncanville ISD. Next slide. So last year, the calendar committee had 3 main considerations. The first consideration is to make sure that our calendar had at least 75,600 minutes built into the calendar. When we look at those minutes, we go to school for 7.5 hours a day. That's 450 minutes, which equates to 168 school days minimum that our calendar will have to include. Number 2 is that we have 3 teacher work days built into our calendar, and that we provide some time for professional development. And then 3, that teachers have a 187 workday calendar, and that's what they're contracted to work. And in addition to the teacher contract, we do look at all of the other employees as well. So when we looked at these calendar considerations for the 22-23, and we revisited those with our senior leadership team, we will be pulling those forward for the 23-24 school year, and then bringing those to the calendar committee so that they can add any additional priorities when we meet. Next slide. So I can't believe we're already in 23-24 calendar development timeline. So tonight, I'm just sharing with you the timeline. The calendar committee meets tomorrow. Our first task is just to review sample calendars. What is happening around the Metroplex? When will they start school? When will they end school? When does spring break occur? How does fall break look? And then all of the committee members will have time to go back to their campus or families and get feedback. So we'll have just a variety of ways for them to give us input based on the calendars that they review tomorrow. After we have the window, which is January 30th through the 6th, they will come back together February 7th, where we're now looking at Duncanville's priorities. So again, we have those considerations. Any other considerations from Dr. Smith, the senior leadership team, we will review then, with the goal of developing our draft calendars during that second meeting on February 7th. Then we will have opportunities for the parents, students, stakeholders to give us feedback from February 13th through March 1st via survey that we will post. And then the goal is to bring back to you March 20th draft academic calendars for the 23-24 school year for you all to take action on. Next slide. This concludes my presentation on our 23-24 academic calendar process. I am happy to answer any questions that you have at this time.
Dr. Alvery?
My question is, with as many apprentice teachers and our long-term substitutes, are we building something in for like the summer for additional training for them, understanding that 3 teacher work days won't be enough for them? What are we doing?
So one of the priorities that we discussed as a senior leadership team is the need for more professional development days. So we are looking to extend the number of professional development days in our calendar this upcoming school year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Dr. Jordan.
Thank you.
And we'll move on to security update presented by our Chief Lambert.
Good evening, Dr. Smith, President McNeely, Board of Trustees. Hope everyone had a great holiday season. I'm here to present to you the security and safety update. The top priority of the Duncanville Independent School District in the state of Texas is keeping students safe every day. The Texas School Safety Center recently conducted an intruder detection audit at 1 or more of our campuses. The audits test whether a campus is accessible to an unauthorized individual. This audit conducted as a part of the Governor Abbott School Safety Directives for all school systems following the tragedy in Uvalde. Seeks to help the districts identify how campuses can move and improve safety for students, such as ensuring exterior doors are locked. The audit provides us with an opportunity to create a safer learning environment with minor security adjustments for all of our students and staff. We are working closely with our district school safety and security community to ensure the training of all of our staff in securing all doors for the protection of everyone on our campuses. The support from the state in conducting the intruder detection audits is just one of many actions we are taking to ensure our schools are safe. We know that this work does not end, and we appreciate the board's support. We acknowledge that parents and community members are likely very interested in the details of the audit results. However, it is our best interest of the students that we do not share this information to the broader public, as it could lead to compromising important security information. Specific details of the intruder detection audit will be discussed in executive session in the Safety and Security Committee. Duncanville Independent School District is committed to providing a safe and secure learning environment for all students and staff. This concludes the safety and security audit update. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Janice?
As a community member, I understand you not reporting the information here, but can I come to your location and will that information be shared with me?
Not with the exact details of the audit, of course. Now, our main priority is security of our campuses, and we would not like to use too much information to the public in order to gain knowledge of our campuses. Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions? Thank you, Chief.
Thank you very much.
Seeing there's nothing else, it's time to go home.